Today's video is brought to you by Expressvpn, ladies and gentlemen, a VPN service priding itself on security and privacy. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to start off by pretty much telling you why I use Expressvpn. I actually do use it on my mobile devices, primarily whenever I'm going outside and maintaining an allure of security, if you will. You ever connected to a public Wi-Fi network? It's like going into a public bathroom. It's always filthy and filled with other people's shenanigans. So typically I'm using Expressvpn just to route my internet traffic through one central location rather than having everybody around the entire Wi-Fi network scan those dirty, disgusting packets and reading them. And thanks to Expressvpn's no-lock systems, because they don't use hard drives, no caches are ever kept, no shard of information is stored, everything is done purely on RAM. So once your session is over, the server is rebooted, the RAM is wiped, the RAM is cleared out, and nothing is kept behind. Ladies and gentlemen, check out Expressvpn at expressvpn.com/SOG. Get an extra 3 months free of Expressvpn, all for free. That's expressvpn.com/SOG. And figure out how you can get 3 months of Expressvpn all for free. Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar, and today's word of the day is the Streisand effect. What happens when you try to delete something off the internet and hide every aspect of it? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it only makes the people who were never interested in the first place look even harder. Like me! Now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, today's video is all about a game known as Cookies Bustle. Now, I might be like, Muta, why are we talking about Cookies Bustle? I haven't even heard about this game at all. And ladies and gentlemen, Cookies Bustle is a game released March 18, 1999. In the 19th century, a UFO crash landed in the tiny South Pacific country of Bombo World. In exchange for advanced technology, Bombo World, yeah, I think I'm going to get demonetized just for how many times I said Bombo, but traded the northern part of the island to the aliens, where they established their city of Darrow City. 100 years later, Darrow City has become famous for its annual sports tournament. A 5-year-old girl named Cookie Blair travels alone in the hopes of competing. But will she be pulled into something larger? I think the parents involved for somebody 5 years old is going to be put into some child endangerment charges. But ladies and gentlemen, to look into it, Cookies Bustle is a game where if you go to their website right now, you can get a quick idea of how vintage it is. That's Cookies Bustle. That's our girl right there, a 5-year-old Cookie Blair. And of course, these are the Alamows. You can even see they got a little bit of Jesus going around. I think it's a cross. It really looks like an alien, like stereotypical early 2000s. But of course, you might be like, what are all these characters? I don't have a Japanese language pack installed. And also, even if I did, what do you expect? I'm going to sit down and translate it? You can see from the screenshots, it literally looks like early PC stuff. And that's because, ladies and gentlemen, it truly is. Now, if you look at the copyright date, it's 1998, Roddick Incorporated. Now, of course, you might be like, Muta, still, why are you talking about it? It's because very slowly this game is eliminated from the internet, or at least there is somebody attempting to delete this game from existence. Now, somebody that's talked about game preservation, I love preserving games. Even if I don't care about it, I want people to experience something. And even if I'm not interested necessarily in ever playing Cookies Bustle, I don't want it removed. Apparently there seems to be a copyright troll or somebody that's apparently grabbed a trademark and is out deleting this game from actual existence. So of course, ladies and gentlemen, looking into it, there was one creator, one individual known as Pat Bites, whose Twitter channel you should check out, actually is a YouTube channel where he also covered this game. Definitely check it out, where he talks about Cookies Bustle and how it was removed from the Internet Archive. Now, where it first began was an account known as the Classics of Game. Now, of course, this is a channel where they upload a lot of obscure video games from back in the day. If you look into it, they're a channel that stopped uploading around 7 months ago, but of course, they were a channel that uploaded like these 41-second, basically YouTube shorts of just weird video games. If you're looking at the thumbnail and don't recognize any game, do not be surprised. I'm going to click on one of them and show you just how obscure we're looking at here. Yeah, I swear to God, I would never imagine this to be a PlayStation. If you're looking at this game, it looks like a PlayStation 1 Driver meets Silent Hill clone. Of course, the world has stopped rendering, but that is a very impressive version of a VW Beetle. And of course, this person's pulling all types of turns, flipping their car, so on and so forth. If you're wondering why you never heard of this game, I'm pretty sure the quality of the gameplay will probably answer the questions for you. Now, of course, this is something pretty reminiscent of games I played on What the Fuck Gaming, games like Crime Life, so on and so forth. But of course, on one of these games was Cookies Bustle, which unfortunately got removed. Some of these videos were removed from a copyright ownership of Uki, some were removed by Graceware, and in some cases, they were removed by Nintendo, even though they had nothing to do with this game at all. Now, of course, one of the things that I found out is how do we download these games? Typically, they exist on the Internet Archive or on other sites like My Abandonware, which is where I find old PC games that I play from time to time. One of the games I recently downloaded, Freelancer, literally can't buy it anywhere, so I just went onto My Abandonware, downloaded it off there, and started playing the game on my PC. So, of course, Cookies Bustle, I tried looking there, and lo and behold, couldn't download it. Internet Archive, couldn't download it, because apparently it got taken down because of copyright violations. Now, immediately, one had to wonder, who owned this game? Where did it come from? Was this copyright violation even legit? It's a great example to tell you how broken the copyright system really is. There was no real identity verification. Really, somebody just, I guess, pretended or just said they were the person who owned the copyright, and because these services, a lot like Internet Archive, YouTube, whatever, rely on basically following through these DMCA requests, no matter how bullshit they are, follow through with it, deleted the game, and lo and behold, the slow existence of this game was being completely destroyed. Now, thankfully, because of it, the Streisand effect, like I mentioned earlier, plenty of individuals on the internet who are terminally online found a copy of this game, preserved it, and started mass uploading it to counter-troll the troll who is abusing copyright. Now, of course, here we got, ladies and gentlemen, I've got the game right here, Cookies Bustle. Now, of course, once you fire it on a modern operating system like Windows 10 or 11, it will not work. Why? Because the game relies on QuickTime 4 and a bunch of old dependencies that make me want to go back in time to a simpler era, a Windows XP era. There we go. All right, it works. Kind of. I think it's dying inside, but I'm going to blame the fact that we're trying to run a really old game here, okay? Give it some credit. Now, in this case, we've got Windows XP ready to go, and we've got all the extensions imaginable, and ladies and gentlemen, Cookies Bustle is ready to go. Now, of course, Windows XP is picked here because we need an older version of Windows, one that can support these really old dependencies, like QuickTime 4, which handles a lot of this game's CGI effects. Let's double-click over here and get started with the game. Windows 95, 98, 2000 is working. I think XP is a little bit too new, so let's hit OK over here. Whoa, stop right there, criminal scum! What, do you thought you were gonna see some gameplay? Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you actually look up Cookies Bustle on YouTube, you'll quickly find out that aside from Pat Bites' video, soon to be mine, and some re-uploads from Vine Sauce, from Vinny specifically, this doesn't appear to be any situation that anybody wants to step into because of a rampant copyright troll existing. To understand, YouTube's copyright system is kind of like rectally enlarging for the person getting like copyright struck. So I'm just going to play it really cool. If anything, this entire video is to showcase and raise awareness for this game being deleted. And there are plenty of avenues now where you can access this game all over the internet and see footage for yourself. But in order to not feed into the copyright abuse that is rampant right now on the platform, I'm not going to have this video taken down. So I'm not going to play you the footage, but I guess by showing you all the way up until like this point, it is actually playable underneath those XP operating systems with those various dependencies installed. That said, let's get to the fun, goofy world of copyright abuse. Now, of course, Vinny from Vine Sauce, good friend of the show, unfortunately has had their videos removed too. So again, you can read here, international copyright law, and I now request that you expeditiously remove this material from archive.org or block or disable access to it as required both under US and EU law. The works are Cookies Bustle, and of course, I have no idea how this is actually even legal. Unfortunately, it's an abuse of the copyright systems, and until this copyright troll is dealt with, which unfortunately will involve a lawsuit and this person losing, for any of us to actually gain our right to stream a super obscure Japanese game. Now, of course, Cookie Bustle wasn't even really popular in its home country of Japan. But of course, because of the Streisand effect and somebody issuing DMCA takedown requests, you can imagine it gained a massive amount of popularity. So again, to look at some of these trademark filings for Cookies Bustle, it seems as though back in 27th of May 2022, it got filed in the UK underneath this trademark number by an individual who is just going to be known as hit a guy, okay? So apparently this individual trademarked Cookies Bustle, and it got filed literally last year. So again, after the company Radic completely fell down. So after 2005, 2006, the company completely dissolved as far as my understanding goes. So again, the copyrights and the trademarks were up in the airs. I believe they were already completely expired at that point. Now, of course, you can even see that Cookies Bustle, this is the UK trademark. Unfortunately, it appears to be live. Now, when I looked into how trademarking works, obviously, if you can talk to a trademark lawyer and give them, I believe it's a few $100s, like per logo or per trademark in the United States, will obviously be different no matter what country you go to. They'll file a trademark that shouldn't get rejected, and if it does get approved, then I guess you have the trademark for, whatever. So apparently this game was so old and the company was so dissolved that whoever is here just, I guess, brought the trademark back. And even in the United States, it's filed, and apparently it appears to be active, or rather, it's a new application that is processing. So that actually means that it's not completely active as far as we know. See, it says live application awaiting examination. So hopefully the US Trademark Office realizes this is bullshit and doesn't decide to go forward with it. But you can see Cookies Bustle literally got filed, like again, last year, 2022. You can even see in the USPO trademark, case viewer, you can see right over here, this is Cookies Bustle being grabbed. And of course, new applications right over here by a company known as Graceware, which when we saw earlier was one of those same companies issuing the takedown requests on the super obscure Japanese game. And of course, the people that are filing this are just trademark attorneys, and it's not really their fault. They probably get called up because they're flat fee trademarking attorneys. They get asked, hey, can you trademark this for us? They're probably not going to look too far into it. They're going to ask you for relevant paperwork and file it in the various official offices. Again, no shame on that part either. They're just lawyers doing their job. At this point, an individual with the name of Brandon White, apparently, right out of Japan, was one filing this in the International Online Copyrights Offices, okay? Copyright registration within 3 days with recognition in 167 countries. Let's go! Again, the copyright system is so broken that if you remember, Christian West and Chandler back in the day copyrighted, what was it, Sonichu in the state of Virginia, which would have immediately put it into actual contest with Pokemon or from Nintendo and Sega with Sonic. So again, copyrights are wild things, but you can see this individual over here copyrighted what appeared to be Cookie Blair, so this character, a 3D rendering of them, all the way back in 2021. So this is somebody that had access to this for over a year at this point. Now, of course, even further into it, of course, the three-dimensional work Cookie Blair was also copyrighted. Then, of course, the encrypted source code to the game was also, grabbed, which totals up to 555 kilobytes. Now, while I wish I could download these, unfortunately, these are encrypted, meaning that they're given a password. And unless we sit down here for a couple years trying to crack a RAR password, we're not really going to get anywhere. And I'm having some real big doubts that even is the source code anyways. I'll bet my left nut it isn't. Of course, you even see that Cookie Bustle's the gameplay concept got copyrighted, encrypted, uploaded here. And of course, even beyond that, Cookies Bustle, the actual logo, the brand logo, if you will, that we saw on that super old Radic site earlier, was also copyrighted. So of course, one user, again, Brandon White, was effectively doing all this. Now, a lot of these encrypted folders could actually be accessed by using a password known as. And of course, looking through some of these documentations is rather interesting because they just consist of PDFs that contain the alleged, of course, source code, which I can't show you because obviously that would be leaking incredibly sensitive information if it was true. And I have no way to completely verify it. I'm looking at the code, and unfortunately, it's kind of garbled up in the format that it's delivered in. I can tell you that the programming language this is written in is apparently Lingo. And that's pretty much all we can get into it. Again, there's no way for me to verify the source code is completely authentic or if it's from the original game or not. Of course, the rest of the documents that have been sent in here are, map data, just information that would be about the game, and also a summary that was written to Interroco. And again, if you're wondering why there's so much blurs and why I'm really hesitant on showing you any of the footage that could get the video potentially copyright struck, it's because to this day, there's unfortunately still an active campaign in copyright striking. Literally on the 15th of February, 10 days ago, you had Twitter accounts that uploaded the ending cutscene, Cookie playing a song, whatever you want to say. They got taken down for copyright infringement. They received a strike on Twitter, which again, you know, if it was done officially by the creators and the company behind Cookie's Bustle would make actual sense. But so far, the pseudonym behind this hasn't proven that they actually own Cookie's Bustle. You can even see in other cases, they've got other creators like Sebmal, who also just, due to a copyright notice that we received, we had to take down your video from YouTube, a PC long play of Cookie's Bustle. Unfortunately, even mods have been taken down. So here's a Twitter account that basically made a Super Smash Bros. Melee skin for Fox. Unfortunately, even they ended up getting removed because of a report from the copyright owner. One of the peoples that ended up having their web archive version of the game uploaded ended up getting claimed down, to which they filed their own counterclaim. Under penalty of perjury, I have a good faith belief that the material was removed or disabled as a result of mistake or misidentification of the material. Literally, they gave out their actual docs to whoever just because of game preservation, which puts this individual on some real badassery list, okay? In my opinion, at least. So, of course, there's so many pseudonyms and third parties that we're hiding behind. No one has any idea who this person actually is. And I think this highlights one of the biggest problems that I personally have with the flawed DMCA system, especially when it comes to online platforms. Look, nobody knows who this person is. It's just destroying like people's platforms or like risking their right to exist on the internet because we're dealing with unproven copyright strikes. And it's funny because in order to counter a legal document like this, and because of how these platforms are structured, YouTube, Twitter, whatever, we have to provide, most people have to provide their actual home address, their actual legal information to somebody that's completely random. It's literally, it has been used in the past to literally dox individuals by virtue of false DMCA striking, and when a counterclaim gets filed, you give them your information. It's a scummy system, and honestly, it's one of the many gripes that I have with it. Nobody knows who this person is, but if you choose to play this super obscure video game and you want to stand by the test of time to keep it preserved like you should, congratulations, you're exposing yourself to somebody that will gladly hide behind a veil of anonymity. Now, one of the copyright holders that was actually issuing takedown requests was something known as Uki, which is, again, game businesses from micro studios to multinationals, developers, publishers, service companies, working across online, mobile, console, PC, esports, and immersive. So again, it's a membership that represents the very best of the UK games industry. Again, this is a Japanese game from way back in 2001, and apparently Uki's taking hold and running takedown requests over it. Now, of course, even if you look into their members, which let's go see who they are, if you look at Graceware, for instance, you'll find out they don't actually even exist within their member list. So, what? Now, for anybody who wants to play this game, a lot of it, from what I've played, most of it seems to be in English in terms of the written text. And while there are some like elements of Korean and Japanese and various other Asian languages, I will say if you're going to play this game, it's kind of already English complete. So again, there is a community that's around wanting to further translate aspects of the game too. Honestly, the copyright trolling gave the most unintended effect. If you wanted to delete the game from the internet, you've got it resurged, and you've got a community that's even more militant in keeping it alive. Very much an unintended effect, but ultimately it's the one silver lining out of the situation so far. But given that it appears that Uki has actually issued copyright strikes, who knows until there actually is a comment out of them. From what it appears, there is a Discord group of people investigating into it, and unfortunately it seems like no actual answer has been provided. So again, if we actually look into what's going on, back in 1994, literally the year I was born, Roddick Incorporated was founded. They ended up producing video games, and one of their video games was this, okay? So back then, Roddick filed the initial trademark for Cookie's Bustle, okay? Then they released Cookie's Bustle again in 1999. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, the more and more we go into it, around 2003 to 2005, Roddick effectively closed its doors because they went out, and that was it. Roddick effectively had their trademark registration canceled because they failed to file the Section 8 declaration. Now, of course, at the end of the day, what happened was Cookies Bustle came back because there was actually a leak with obscure Japanese games. So if you actually look into it, one of the Internet Archives had this leak, the old Japanese PC game collection. And of course, inside here was a whole array of old video games. Games like Flappy 95, Onk 2. You had games like Master Blaze. God, I wish I could blaze right now. Then you also had Zeitgeist, a bunch of these video games that were here. And amongst one of them was Cookies Bustle. Unfortunately, because of this being taken down, they had to remove Cookies Bustle and had to re-upload the various other games. At the time, one of the oldest walkthroughs was from a channel known as Seb Mall, who is sub 4,000 subscribers, so definitely show some love. This person plays some really obscure, weird games, amongst games that are super popular lately, like Pizza Tower. And this person had one of the long plays, so video games, there would just be super long videos of the entire game being played all the way through. Similar to when I did Resident Evil 8, right? Like I played the whole game, uploaded a whole 8-hour-and-a-half video, and called it a day. Now, Sebmal's video got taken down by Graceware, and there was another channel known as Melody's Burst, where the actual contact email apparently belonged to Uki, all right? So that preservation company out there. So these people suffered from basically getting taken down, and this whole game was effectively removed. Now, of course, after this, a whole array of copyright strikes would come by Uki, basically taking all hosted versions of this game off of the internet anyways. Videos, copies, you name it. So there's a couple theories on why this has actually been the case. For instance, it appears that one of the theories was apparently a collector who bought this game for a massive amount, who ended up having it leaked, like I showed you earlier, apparently was issuing these copyright strikes. Now, of course, in that case, nobody would have any basis to issue copyright strikes on a game they never made, but they bought for an exorbitant fee as a collector item. Now, of course, that didn't appear to be the case because apparently even the collector and the leaker have come out in one of the Discord servers and have actually explained that they're totally okay with it. They don't care. Now, to understand, the reason we have Cookies Bustle is that initially it came out in part of a collection in 2018 by a user known as BakuDD. Now, BakuDD allegedly is the one that had their collection leaked, and this was confirmed by a few users on the investigation Discord as well. And it seems like they're just okay with it. They don't really care that the collection has been leaked. You know, the dumped files are out there. Now, there was also another aspect of the story that I found where a bit of subversion was occurring between like 4chaners and like Discord. So obviously the 4chan like V-boards, VG, VR were more looking into like this game as well. And while they had their own discussion, there was a little bit of a weird theory that kicked up where apparently this game resurfaced in some form of translation being sold. And there is no validity to this claim. And there's just a back and forth pissing match between 4chaners and like Discord users, which doesn't really surprise me, but I feel like it was interesting to throw in because at the end of the day, there is legitimate understanding that this game was sold all the way back in 1999, and it wasn't just some new unearthed project that apparently was leaked out and sent. There wasn't some like crazy translation occurring. The game is far too obscure, and realistically what's happening is, of course, that original theory of a copyright troll jumping in. But I feel like it was worth mentioning just for the sake of clarity and obviously to mention the whole picture in this entire story. Now, where I guess things do kind of get lost in translation a little bit is 4chan, it seems like there was one post I read in one of the threads, because obviously 4chan creates like numerous threads about a situation, but one of the threads literally said that, hey, there is a translation, it seems, all right? It appears to me there is a translation where like 40% of like the lines have been translated, like there is a project going on, but it's not meant to be sold. And I think there was some drama where people wanted the disclaimer of this fan translation, which happens in every fan's translation for any game, like they tell you it is a fan-translated work, should have included mentions of the copyright troll, which nobody on 4chan or the people behind this project really wanted to do, as they just wanted to focus on the game and not the weird, like, copyright troll. They don't want to feed the troll, so to speak, right? Which is a fair point to make. And I guess that's where like things really, you know, quote unquote, got lost in translation. And of course, when looking at who is behind these exact copyright strikes, nobody knows the actual true identity or even why they've even done this in the first place. If you actually look earlier, the only culprit appears to be is Brandon White, that alias apparently, where they issued a bunch of copyright listings on that Introco site between 2021 and 2022. Then you've also got Graceware, which is this company that's apparently registered in Andorra, and of course, which appears to be like a tax haven in Europe. But one thing is clear is after around October of last year, apparently UKI, which is that trade association in the UK, was issuing basically a crap ton of those strikes. They were attacking the Internet Archive, and then in sometimes other companies like Graceware and actually Nintendo, who had nothing to do with the game, period, were basically going at it, okay? There was other companies known as Webcopio, and then they were starting to issuing various strikes and so on and so forth. And that was pretty much it. That's pretty much like what happened. Slowly, all these companies issuing all these DMCA requests were slowly killing Cookies Bustle from showing up on the internet. So apparently there have been some claims and theories. For instance, somebody got access to the English localization, and apparently they were planning to re-release this game in 2022 for some reason, even though there has actually been no mention of any re-release in any form of news available. The only actual mention of any of this was in that gameplay concept document in the Introco database. And of course, who knows if that is actually legitimate? Even if you dug up that super old website and it did talk about an international release of the game, there would be no actual idea of who was even contracted to do the localization of that game. And it wouldn't make any sense for this game to be abandoned, period. The company completely dissolved, and all of a sudden they would be remaking and remastering and releasing this totally obscure Japanese game in 2022. Of course, the other name, Hiragai, in the UK, who is apparently somebody that filed their trademarks in the UK in 2020 of May 2022. Again, no actual concrete evidence that anybody from Japan even moved there and filed it. Again, there is no evidence. Anybody can claim to be somebody and file these weird copyright disclaimers, weird copyright law. Anybody can abuse the system. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, what's unfortunately happened is this game has gained such a bit of notoriety in such a short amount of time because of these weird takedown requests in 2022, 2023, that people who have never heard of the game like me now are cheering for its fan translation and its resurgence. If you've never played Cookies Bustle, you owe it to yourself as just somebody who's a terminally online person to check this game out for yourself and cover it. Honestly, at this point, we might as well turn Cookies Bustle into like an actual verb or something so generic and generalized that we just reclaim it beyond any copyright or trademark. But this is a great story of how one copyright troll, one copyright abuser, whoever they may be, has absolutely failed in their mission to delete something off of the internet, and in only doing so has caused people to talk about it, to re-upload it, to spread it all around the world, and even end up having it translated for generations to come. Wild world we live in, ladies and gentlemen, but it is what it is. As far as I understand, there's 3 people talking about it. I talked about it, Vinny played it, streamed it, and unfortunately that video is sitting in purgatory, given that this is such a legal kerfuffle, and of course Pat Bites has also uploaded it to their YouTube channel, who I highly recommend you go check out because this is an interesting story. And I want to see how it ends, so maybe when all this copyright shit gets sorted out, I might as well just upload a 5-hour playthrough of like Cookies Bustle. Probably won't understand it. Maybe I'll look into it when it's completely translated. But I definitely urge whoever's interested to go check it out, see it for themselves. This is one game that's slowly being eliminated from the internet, but thankfully, because of a vapid community that's been forming so rapidly because of the weird drama and the copyright surrounding it, that it's going to be preserved no matter what. Imagine turning the super obscure video game that people would have forgotten about into something that is basically an underground little hidden video game phenomenon. Ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Mudahar, and if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike if you dislike it. I am out.